Guys, Marco here, welcome back to another lesson. Let me show you 5 things that will take your guitar playing to the next level. Now, if I come to you and I say, if you want to become better at playing guitar, you have to play more scales, you have to practice for more hours, and you gotta practice with the metronome. I don't think these 3 things will inspire you to really grab the guitar and start practicing more. Because honestly, guys, we already know these things. You know that if you practice more, yes, your technique will improve, but are you going to get inspired? And so for this reason, in this lesson, we're not going to focus on all these basic things, which by the way are extremely important. Practicing enough hours, playing scales, and using a metronome are extremely important things. But we kind of want to focus a little bit more on the melodic and harmonic side, so that you can kind of get inspired. I'm going to show you different ways of playing things. And so we're going to talk about getting your technique right, knowing your scales, melodic chords, think small, and consistency over repetition. We're really going to take it step by step. I'm going to show you musical examples. You can get the tab for everything that I play in this video. Check my Patreon page. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with all the upcoming lessons. Now, let's have a close-up and let's get started. Now, getting your technique right means that you want to develop your technique based on the type of guitar player that you want to become. And so if your goal is to play something like this, for example, so for this type of guitar playing, I need to develop a lot of speed, control, finger dexterity, alternate fingering, and an overall control that, it takes time to achieve. And so I'm going to spend the majority of my time playing and practicing, trying to develop all these elements. But if my goal is to, for example, become this type of guitar player, so for this kind of playing, I don't really need a lot of technique. So I'm not going to spend time practicing all this hammer-on and alternate fingering. Instead, I'm going to focus on developing my sense of rhythm, shuffle rhythm. I'm going to focus on, memorizing and learning the structure so that I can combine chords and melody at the same time. I'm going to focus on learning the pentatonic scale, the blues scale, and how to play it over the chords. It's a completely different approach, but I'm still developing my technique. So technique is not just about practicing scales or arpeggio. It's just about being able to develop all the tools that you need to play the stuff that you really want to play. And so I would say just cut everything that you are practicing just because you think it's cool and just focus on the things that you want to play. Now, the second point is that you want to know your scales, and I'm not referring to playing scales up and down the neck. I'm referring to knowing the different modes and how to, just play the scale over different chords. For example, if I'm playing an E major chord, I can play the E major scale, so I'm going to consider the E major scale to be the tonic scale. So I'm going to play something like this, for example. But I can also consider the E major to be the 4th degree of the B major key. And so I'm going to play, for example, a B major scale over the E major chord. So it's going to sound like this. Now, completely different sound. In fact, I'm playing an E major chord, but I'm playing the B major. which is going to give me this beautiful Lydian sound. Now I can do the same for the minor chord. For example, like for the E minor, I could consider this E minor to be the tonic chord, and so I can play the natural minor scale. Beautiful, beautiful way of playing. But also I could consider this chord to be the second degree of the scale, and so I'm gonna play a D major scale over the E minor chord, for example. So I'm playing the C sharp on the, the C sharp note on the E minor chord. So for me, knowing your scales means that you want to practice the scales up and down the neck to develop your technique, but also spend a lot of time to really use the scale melodically to come up with a lot of different musical ideas that can really inspire you to play more. And all these things will really take your playing to the next level, because you're not going to consider the scale as a technical exercise anymore, but just as a tool that you can use to write beautiful melodies. Now guys, point number 3 is melodic chords. Now one cool thing about the melodic chords is that you can really take your guitar playing to the next level when you start implementing these chords. The reasons for that is because, first of all, they're beautiful, and they are going to change the way you play chord progression. Second, the reason why I call it melodic chords is because they have kind of a melody within the chord. So you have to always combine, fretted notes with open strings, but they're not basic chords. Like a C major combines fretted notes and open strings, but we kind of want to play these chords above the fret number 3. Now, one thing that is going to really take your guitar playing to the next level is to play these melodic chords in keys that are not easy to you. For example, like we always play in E minor key, G major key, C major, A minor. So we kind of know more or less what's going on in here. But for example, like a B minor key, a B major key, an F sharp minor key, these are keys that you really want to kind of experiment with and come up with different solutions. For example, like a B minor idea, just a B minor chord, an A major, and an E minor chord. I will transform this chord progression and play with melodic chords like this. So I'm playing a B minor odd 11 chord, which is 2, 4, 4, 3 open. Now the A major, A string open, G string fret 6, B string fret 3, and the top E string open. Beautiful A odd 11 chord. And the E minor has the same shape all the way up to the fret number 11 here. So open 11, 8, and open E minor. And the beauty about these melodic chords is the fact, as I was saying, they kind of have a melody in it. When I play the A, you can hear a sort of a melody in it. And so if you really want to take your guitar playing to the next level, I really suggest that you spend a lot of time practicing and developing these chords. Now guys, the point number 4 is think small. And what I mean by that is obviously still referring to chords, but also melodies as well. Sometimes I had the feeling that when we play chords, we always think about the chord as a block of notes that we have to play together. So when I say to you, think small, just break down the chords into 3 notes, 2 notes, sometimes even just 1 note. For example, like an A minor chord. If you break it down into 1 note, you could play like... So I literally just played A, C, and E, which are just the 3 notes of the A. So it's 5, 8, 12. what that does, as you can see, it kind of open up the melodic side of a chord. So we're not just playing the A minor like this anymore, but it's kind of give me this melodic idea, which I wouldn't really have if I just play the A minor like this. So G major. And F major. And for example, D minor. So think small, just break things down. Extremely important if you want to take your guitar playing to the next level. You know, stop thinking in blocks and kind of focus much more on the melodic side of everything that you play, especially chords, because it's going to open up a lot of the different, ideas and possibilities. Now guys, the last point number 5 is consistency. Consistency over repeating. We don't need the guitar for this, just a quick tip on how you practice. When you try to be consistent, you basically try to play every day. Or if you can't play every day, you kind of have a schedule that you want to follow. Now, the difference between being consistent and being repetitive is the fact that when you start repeating the same thing over and over, it becomes boring. And you never want to get to the point where you get bored. Be consistent and diversify things, alright? So play as much as you can, but don't be scared to switch things around and play different things. Especially if you feel stuck and you can't move on to the next thing. This is the time when you actually want to move on, leave it out for a while and diversify things. Go back to it maybe like a week after, and you will see that your brain is just going to approach the exercise or the chord progression you were working on in a completely different way. So being consistent, don't be repetitive. So enjoy this video, let me know if you like it, and I'll see you next time.